Welcome to Economics 2.6. Today we are going to support economic growth, and I have my friend here, Lightning McQueen, to help me present this for you. Yes, I love my background. So our learning objectives. This is going to be why the government tracks and seeks to influence business cycles. Now, business cycles are going to be just like a roller coaster. They're going to go up and down. Now, the key is we don't want to have big ups and then big downs. Right now, with after COVID, we're in a big down. We want it to be more like a kiddie roller coaster. Analyze how the government promotes economic strength and stability. Again, we talked about laissez-faire and how the government was hands-off on the economy until after the Great Depression. So we're going to talk about what does the government do? And then what are factors that increase productivity? Now, two key terms, macroeconomics and microeconomics. Macro, just like anything, means large. Micro means small. So macroeconomics is going to be the study of economics of our entire country. Anything that is the United States unemployment rate, that's macro. The GDP, which is all the goods and services in the United States, the value, that is macroeconomics. But if we talked about the unemployment rate in Tennessee, small, that's going to be micro. So pretty much anything that is the United States as a whole is macro, and everything else is micro. The gross domestic product, or the GDP, this is the final value of all goods and services produced in a country in a given year. So if you take everything that was bought, all of that, their final value, how much did we produce in 1 year? Now, business cycle, again, I said this is like a roller coaster. So you're going to have expansion, which is going up. You're going to have contraction or decline going down. And unlike roller coasters where we like the big highs and the big lows, we don't want this in the economy. We want the kiddie roller coaster, okay? Referendums, these are laws submitted directly to the public. When there is a vote, usually there are referendums on the agenda. One that I can remember in Sumner County for years when I was in high school was people were voting on liquor by the drink. And if you're not familiar with that, that gives counties the ability to have restaurants that can serve like one alcoholic drink. And we didn't have any restaurants in Hendersonville or Sumner County when I grew up. You had to go to Rivergate because we didn't allow that. And businesses make a lot of their money off of that. So by passing that law, it allowed restaurants that y'all are enjoying today to be in Sumner County. Obsolescence. This is a situation in which older products and processes become out of date. VHS tapes. People have them just because they're stuck in their closet, but nobody's buying them. And if you were the #1 fastest VHS rewinder, guess what? Your skills are obsolete. And that's one of the beautiful things about Tennessee and Tennessee Promise is if you don't have a college degree, you can go back and get the human capital and skills that you need to change careers. A patent. Now, this is a license that gives the inventor of a new product exclusive rights to sell it for a certain amount of years. When I think of patents, I immediately think of prescription drugs. And if you've ever had to take medication for which there's no generic available, that's because there's still a patent. And when there's a patent, it tends to be really, really expensive. And the purpose of the patent is to give that inventor a certain number of years to sell their product exclusively to help make up all the costs to invent it. Now, again, when you start talking prescription medication, you always hear, "Ooh, this one's going generic." That means the patent ran out. And when the patent runs out, that gives other companies the right to be able to produce that same product. Copyright. This is a government license that grants the author exclusive rights to publish and sell works. Most books have the copyright symbol, the C with the little circle around it. You might see that on designs, like t-shirts designs. If it has the C in the circle, it has a copyright and it's illegal for you to reproduce it. I know, like, universities, when you have those trademarks, they're illegal. And then work ethic. This is a commitment to the value of one's work. And hopefully you all have a strong work ethic when it comes to your schoolwork or any job that you do, whether you like it or not. You want to be known as somebody that has a strong work ethic. Now, tracking the economy. Here's our example. They say, yesterday you bought a pack of gum or a new guitar or your first car. We make millions of exchanges across our country every day, all day long. And government economists, they track these patterns in order to assess the state of the American economy. So this is going to be macroeconomics because we're talking about the country as a whole. So let's talk. Economists use GDP as a measure of the business cycle because it allows us to take that number and see, ooh, are we producing more goods and services or are we producing less? And during the whole COVID pandemic, yeah, we were producing a lot less than we were prior to. The other reason that we try to track the economy is to forecast it. Prior to COVID hitting, there was a whole lot of forecasting going on that, the economy was going so well, like we're going to hit a recession. And again, forecasting the economy is kind of like forecasting the weather. You can have so much knowledge and information to back up your prediction, but in the end, could it not happen? We've all had those days where they said, ooh, we're going to get an inch of snow. And we're like, yes, no school tomorrow. And yeah, nothing happened. Here's the United States Treasury. This is one of the many government agencies that monitor the economy. And here, take a look at the business cycle from 1930 to 2012. Now, keep in mind, the Great Depression happened like in 1928, 1929. So when we're following the Great Depression, you can see we're on that major roller coaster, big peaks and valleys. And then once we get to around 1950, the government's starting to figure out how to help the economy. And we get a little bit, we're a lot better. We're more even. You can see here in 2008, that was our recession of 2008. And I would imagine when all of these infographics are updated, we're going to see a pretty sharp decline in 2020 as well due to COVID. Now, the market is very vulnerable to business cycles. That is why the government is going to try to step in to try to keep the economy strong, or even if it's taking a downturn, it's a minor downturn and does not last long. The way the government has intervened and the policies they've used has changed, because just like anything, when you do something for the first time, you may have good intentions and it backfire and be bad. So the next time you're going to try something different. In the 1800s, every 10 years, there was some type of financial crisis. But we were laissez-faire, hands off. We followed the teachings of Adam Smith, and the federal government did nothing, okay? Now, after the Great Depression, there were lots of agencies that were created to try to combat the business cycle, these peaks and valleys, and help it. One of the negative side effects of that is we have a huge national debt. But if we didn't go into debt to help the economy, where would we all be? Goes back to, that saying, that English thing, the road not taken. So the goal of the government is to pursue high employment, growth, and stability. And when we talk about stability, that means stable prices and secure financial institutions. If you're saving for retirement, you want to know your money's going to be there when you turn 65. So again, the government is going to work for maximum employment. They're going to help the economy grow. They want it to be stable, secure financial markets, and economic citizenship. Okay. So our standard of living, we talked about this in the last section. How do they come up with this standard of living? And basically what they do is they take the gross domestic product amount and they divide it by the total population. And that's going to give them a monetary figure, and they will compare it to prior years to see if it's gotten higher. They will adjust for inflation. But there's a problem with this statistic because it doesn't take into account people's education. You know, can they read? How many years of schooling do they have? It doesn't take into account the number of people that are living in poverty. It doesn't take into account income inequality, as well as health measures, you know, life expectancy, infant mortality. And, you know, you probably say, what does that mean? People are living longer now than they did 40 years ago. Now, in the recession of 2008, yeah, that was a really tumultuous time. And there was a lot of debate over the government support for banking industries. And like you see here, this man, he probably still has his job. He's got his coat on, looks like he's got a suit for work versus the guy in the backpack. And the working guy is probably like, oh, please, just get a job. And then the working guys, or the non-working guys, probably going, I've been trying. There's nothing out there. It's hard. And they were asking for help. Now, the role of technology. When we increase productivity, and technology can help us do that, that is one way to preserve a higher standard of living. It's going to allow us to produce more goods and services. It's going to increase our gross domestic product, which is again going to increase the standard of living figure. Now, let's look at technological progress. These are real big, like gas containers for natural gas. And having this recent technology is allowing us to be able to store more natural gas. So let's say all of a sudden there was a break in the pipeline and they couldn't get any more natural gas. We have it in reserve so that people don't see a break in their heating. And that is going to be the end of 2.6. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed having Lightning McQueen with you, and we will see you for the next one.